Alright, so this isn't going to be clickbait, but Mariana Trench is said to be like one of the greatest and the most unexplored areas because it's like one of the deepest points that we know of. As of right now, I think it is the deepest point in the Pacific Ocean, like 200 miles away, I think to the east of the Mariana Islands. And so, hopefully, here's 10 things you didn't know about it, hopefully. All right, no, actually, I made a mistake. It's 200 kilometers to the west. Sorry, but anyways, here's something you didn't know about the trench itself. At the deepest point that we know of, it's anywhere between 1 to 4 degrees Celsius, despite the fact that it's at the very bottom, where the atomic, like the water levels, it's said to have like a lot of like the pressure's so high that most things can't get down there. But there's certain sea creatures that could probably adapt because they could be found under there. So it's really what's also really crazy is back in 2019, some of the animals that were discovered at the very bottom of the trench were said to have been reported with nuclear, like carbon-14, the same nuclear stuff that was found in nuclear bombs, for example, atomic bombs. And so it's really interesting to think, like, how does that get all the way to the bottom? Now, here's another thing that's really crazy. Just like garbage and landfills, where like if you get a good enough wind, the wind can blow light objects miles across the Earth's surface. And the same thing works no different than with the currents and the water and all that. Something can sink to the bottom of the water, but you'd be surprised like how fast like things get swept under the soil or the reef bars. It depends on really like what kind of terrain you're talking about underwater. But it's crazy to think that, things can travel even underwater very fast. Some of the very first expeditions of the Mariana Trench was actually discovered way back in 1875. So you can go back like almost 150 years and really see just how much effort some of these people have really put into trying to examine what quite possibly might be one of the strangest mysteries of the planet. At the same time, though, it's worth noting that even to this day, there's still tons of things that are undiscovered. Most of, like, because again, like the Earth is covered in 2/3 water at least, and then at the same time, though, like what we haven't discovered yet may very well still be around somewhere in the deepest trenches. So, if my research is correct, the Japanese were technically the very first to heat the very bottom of the trench back in somewhere between 1984 and 1995. I think it's 1984 though. So they basically sent out a bunch of signal waves, talking like sonar rather, talking about like how deep and measuring it based on like frequency to really see what was down there. And it's like it's interesting because like every time somebody goes down into the trench, even when they're just trying to explore for something, they end up discovering something new because of how much is unrelatable. Like, there's so much we don't know, and we always go in there expecting to find new things, and we usually find one or two new things that, it's always a good start for research. You can have a hypothesis, and you can have a bunch of data that you can take back to the lab and try to research, whether for samples or whether for just knowledge, in other words, or progress. When the first expedition went down into the back in 1875, they used a weighted rope in order to hold the machines that they used to carry out what they did down there. And it's amazing to think that for technology, even in the 19th century, what they were able to conduct and conclude before anybody else had ever been able to see for themselves. Like nowadays, how different it was like 100 years ago. I mean, 100 and a half years ago almost, because 145 years, I believe. 20, so like 1875 to 2020. It's interesting to think that 145 years ago, you see like how much we've changed. How much things have changed over the years with the idea of technology and the discovery of things. So James Cameron, the same James Cameron that made Avatar and Titanic, for example, and other movies, was actually the fourth person in 2012, by 2012, to have reached the very bottom, the deepest part of the trench itself. And that's interesting to think because, James Cameron not only was a movie director, but he was also a huge adventurer as well in his time. As well as the Mariana. The islands were actually named after Mariana, the Queen of Austria, or was it Austria? Austria, I believe is how you say it. But anyways, that goes back to the 17th century. She was, I think she lived in 1630 something, or somewhere around there. It's way before our time. But what had happened was she was basically the queen at the time. The islands in the trench were named after her because of the Mariana Islands. And then there's something in the area that it's got like a metallical plate or something, and it's said to be connected to like all the way deep down at like even to where the second core of the earth lays, the second layer of the earth rather, so, something like that. It's all like the trench has like this really strange history, and it's even got like possible sightings all the way up until like, you know, they tried to at one point in 1972 dump like nuclear waste into it, and to this day they're still trying to speculate. But like I said earlier, where they found like, you know, some of the animals have like carbon-12 in them. You know, it really does make you wonder, you know, how the hell that got there. Okay, so there's even been fish that have actually had mercury found inside of them as well, another very poisonous gas indeed. A lot of it could be because of the material they produce, but at the same time, though, if we're talking mercury, we're talking the same mercury that, you know, the element mercury. Not the planet Mercury, but, you know, the poison mercury that can kill people because it's a highly toxic gas. But it's interesting to think that these animals might be very immune to it as well, because if they're carrying it, doesn't necessarily mean they're dead because of it. Or maybe they're not exposed to a lot of it. You know, that might be another way of looking at it, but it really depends. They could have actually have migrated, because the trench goes all the way down, but it also comes all the way up, and it's very possible that even animals that, you know, that they don't always necessarily live at the deepest end, they could very well also be like other places too, and if they swim deep enough, it's possible they might be able to go to other places too in the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean. Pacific, yeah. So it's very interesting what could still be down there. How many? I mean, there's even possibilities that because it's an ocean we're talking about, we haven't discovered like the biggest things that are down there yet. It's also crazy about the trench, and I mean, and rightfully so, but it's also the geology behind it, because it's not necessarily just a straight drop down. It kind of goes on an angle, sort of, but not too crazy of an angle, though. So apparently light doesn't reach it because of how deep it is, but at the same time, though, some of the material down there, like the dust and all that that's found in the water, can also block the water and the sunlight as well. It's actually pretty interesting. What's also even crazier is that if there really is bigger creatures living down there, which I wouldn't be surprised, because I mean, we've already been down there, so, you know, we kind of have an idea of like what to look for, but if there are other things down there that we don't know about, then it very well could still be a mystery that, you know, one shouldn't go when they're unprepared, obviously. And I think even to this day, I think, you know, you have to have like special permission to go down there, because it's like protected by like certain activist areas. Yeah, you know, for rightful reasons, you know, like, you know, just to protect the area and all that, you know, environmental, you need like special permission from like certain higher ups to go there of the area. Although I could be wrong though, but, you know, but seeing how deep sea, you know, explorations require like technology and all that, you know, it also requires like, you know, you might as well have somebody who's familiar with the area too to be able to help you out as well. Because, you know, that would definitely give you a huge advantage in that area if you're going down to see what you can find down there to preserve the area. And what's also really crazy is the water pressure that's down there can destroy just about anything except for some stuff. So what's really interesting is the water pressure is like at least 1,200 times greater than, you know, what you'd find like in most places, at least, and it might even be even higher than that in some cases. So basically, the animals that live down there have just the right structure in their bodies that they're able to survive the pressure crushing material that otherwise, like, it's like a gravitational sink, but, you know, but because animals are animals and aqua life evolves and it's adapted to that kind of environment, you know, not only can they breathe under there, but they can also see in different aspects too, and, you know, so it works in their favor because that's their territory. So it's pretty cool. Like, you know, aqua life is interesting. It really is. You know, aqua and land, you know, you never know what you're going to find. I mean, life is everywhere. It really is. So, you know, again, So if I find anything else, I'll let you guys know. But anyways, if you like this video, comment, rate, and subscribe it. Favorite, share it. If you have any recommendations, let me know. I have a Patreon. You can support it in the description, but you don't have to if you don't want to, though. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and good luck.